very deep 6.1 magnitude earthquake strikes off the coast of Vanuatu in the lithosphere, as we can see here, days after the deep quake in Fiji. And we'll take a look at that, but you can see here the cross-section of the Earth, crust from 0 to 100 kilometers. And you have the lithosphere about that deep or even deeper. Then you have the asthenosphere. So this quake is lithosphere, asthenosphere, tip of mantle. The other one that we had in Fiji was a lot deeper. It was close to the top of the mantle, where you usually don't have quakes. But this is obviously what's giving the rise to quake swarms in that whole area. Let's take a look at the map. Berkeley, and this is what we had a few days ago. As you can see, 6.3 was big. Then we had the other ones up here behind that. Sorry, it must have been up here somewhere. Okay, anyway, we had a deeper earthquake at that point. Okay, that one there, okay, a few days ago. And you can see that there's various quakes. This is New Zealand, of course, where we have the Taupo volcano on the North Island. Okay, that one was shallow, but these were deeper. Okay, 181. And this is what we had, the Vanuatu 6.1 of 178.8 kilometer depth. And the same thing today. The blue ones are today's quakes, 5.5, shallower. And this one, again, Toga, shallower, 6 magnitude, and 4.9. And you can see that even in Hawaii we had one that was 3.2 Leilani Estates, 3.2 at a 3-mile depth, 6.1. So that was, it's not small for Hawaii. And we're going to take a look at what's going on in Salt Lake City, something very, very huge. 5.7, and earthquake swarm still ongoing. 5.7, that's pretty big. And it's in between, okay, we'll take a look at that in another video. But going to the 6.1 of Vanuatu, I'd like to see how many people felt this. Well, actually, they wouldn't have felt it because it's in the sea. But it's in the middle of the ocean. This is the shake map. Let's go to the aerial, and you can see a lot more. Okay. And tectonics. And this is where we have the fault line right here. As you can see, that red line. There we go. Okay. And it's unusual to have earthquakes that deep. And when we made that video on the one in the North Island of New Zealand, there was another one here, we said that, oh, let's take a look, because they did say in the articles that we were reading, the geological articles, that these quakes then give stronger, they give major quakes that are shallower. So this one, of course, was not shallow, it was deep, but they had shallower quakes as well. Okay, the ones at 5.5 at 10 kilometers depth. And the information on that, it's of course on the Ring of Fire, as we know. And these are the historic quakes, as we can see. The seismic summary, the tectonics of the eastern margin of the Australian plate. It's one of the most seismically active areas of the world. And we know that there is the Taupo volcano of the North Island of New Zealand is a supervolcano. And we had an eruption of a volcano, the White Island volcano, December 9th, which was actually a hydrothermal explosion. It was the water in the crater that superheated to the point where it had to explode. That's what caused that eruption. But and that was not far from the Taupo volcano of the North Island of New Zealand. And this is where our activity is. In the region of New Zealand, the 3,000 kilometer long Australian Pacific Plate boundary extends from south of Macquarie Island to the southern Kermadec Island chain. It includes an oceanic transform, the Macquarie Ridge, 2 opposing verging subduction zones, and a transpressive continental transform, the Alpine Fault, through South Island in New Zealand, right here. Okay. Since 1900, there have been 15 magnitude 7.5 and larger earthquakes recorded near New Zealand. 9 of these, and the 4 largest, occurred near the Macquarie Ridge, including 1989 magnitude 8.2 event on the ridge itself. In 2004, the magnitude 8.1 event, 200 kilometers to the west of the plate boundary, reflecting interplate deformation. And the largest recorded earthquake in New Zealand itself was in 1931, magnitude 7.8, Hawke's Bay earthquake. And the last 7.5 magnitude earthquake along the Alpine Fault was 170 years ago. Studies of the fault strain accumulation suggest that similar events are likely to recur again. Likely meaning big earthquakes such as this, because of the strain and the stress put on there. The North Island of New Zealand, right here, stretches east of Tonga and Fiji. This is Tonga and Fiji, that's to the east. Okay, Tonga and Fiji, where are we? Okay, to the east, okay. 250 kilometers south of Samoa. And the trench there is approximately linear, including 2 segments that were old 120 million years ago. Pacific Oceanic lithosphere rapidly subducts westward. And at the north end of Tonga Trench, the boundary curves sharply west of the Kermatic Trench, increasing northward from 8 to 20 millimeters a year. That's the movement. The southern tip of this spreading center is propagating to the North Island, New Zealand, rifting it apart. It's cutting it. Okay, it's stretching it, cutting it. And in the southern Lau Basin, west of the Tonga Trench, the spreading rate increases northward from a whopping 60 to 90 millimeters a year. That's pretty fast. Multiple spread centers result in an extension rate of 160 million a year. That's very fast. The overall subduction velocity, the speed of subduction of the Pacific plate, is a vector sum of Australian Pacific velocity and back arc spreading velocity. And this is amazing. From 70 to 100 millimeters a year, and along the Tonga Trench, a whopping 150 to 240 millimeters a year. I mean, that is so fast. Is there another area that is so fastly spreading and splitting and rifting in the world? I don't know. I'm not a geologist, but that's one of the fastest rates I've ever heard of. The Kermatic Tonga subduction generates many large earthquakes on the interference between the descending Pacific overriding Australian plates. And these are the historic earthquakes they're talking about here. 1900, 40 magnitude 7.5 earthquakes recorded. Mostly, look at 40 earthquakes that big. Okay, now across the North Fiji Basin and the Vanuatu Islands, that where we have the quake today. The Australian plate again subducts eastward beneath the Pacific at the North New Hebrides Trench, and at the southern end of this trench, east of the Loyalty Islands, the plate boundary curves into the oceanic transform. So this is where we're having this. It's the largest earthquakes common in the North New Hebrides Trench have mechanisms associated with subduction tectonics, though occasional strike-slip earthquakes occur near the subduction. So this is what we're talking about, a very fast-moving area, 170, 240, amazing, 150 to 240 millimeters a year. That is very fast. So all of you there in Australia, please be very careful. We do have quakes in Australia too, just so you know, because of the fact that we have, it's on, these quakes, of course, are on the edge of the tectonics. But now we're going to look at what's taking place in Seattle, in Salt Lake City, sorry, and then we're going to take a look at what's happening in Hawaii, because that's a big quake as well. Okay. Thank you for your support, and the next one will be on the tremendous amount of activity taking place. It's a 5.7 and a quake swarm, which are pretty big, and they're still ongoing. They're right at the past hour. Something is going on there. Tens of thousands of people, I think 30,000 people, reported to USGS feeling that big one. So we'll take a look at that next. Thank you. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, You will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.